Your Etsy sales have slowed down and you're wondering, is it just me? Is my shop failing? Or is this just part of the game? The truth is, most sellers see a dip this time of year, but the ones who thrive know exactly how to turn slow seasons into growth opportunities. In today's episode, I'm breaking down why this happens, what the data says about consumer spending right now, and most importantly, what you can do today to keep your business moving forward. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Etsy and Ecom with The Professional Mom. If your shop has been experiencing a slowdown, you are not alone. This time of year tends to bring a natural dip in consumer spending across e-commerce. The key isn't to panic, it's to pivot. Let's talk about the market overall and understanding why we see this slowdown. There's a natural seasonality in retail, and retail data shows us that post-holiday spending fatigue actually can extend all the way through February and even March. In fact, in the US, retail sales dropped almost a full percent in January 2025, which is the largest decline in 2 years. So we're seeing an overall combination of consumer exhaustion after all the holiday spending and a lot of other unpredictable economic factors that contribute to the trend. If you take that to Etsy specifically, slower sales in early quarter one are common for the same reasons. And while specific numbers fluctuate, historical data suggests that many sellers may see a 5 to 15% dip compared to quarter four. If you're in that boat, do not worry. Today, I want to focus on not just talking about waiting it out, but we're going to discuss how to turn quieter times like this into strategic opportunities that position your shop for stronger long-term growth. First, let's understand the seasonal trends and shopper behavior. This is important to look at the big picture so that when you apply to your Etsy store, you recognize what the average consumer is shopping for and when and what kind of money they are willing to spend. So initially, the obvious thing is that we have this post-holiday spending shift. You start in November and you have that big Black Friday push, Cyber Monday, and all of the holidays throughout the new year. So consumers are in this buying frenzy. They are buying for others. They might be buying for themselves. They might be buying holiday supplies. They might be planning parties. But by mid-January, we kind of start to realize what we've done. Say, oh wait, I pushed it a little too hard this December. And we tighten the purse strings and we're paying more attention to our budgets and kind of in this mode of financial recovery and preparing for tax season, which creates a reality check for what the numbers in our businesses and our personal bank accounts look like. So this is why we start to see a lot less impulse buys and a lot more intentional purchases that are maybe more organization-based or calendar planner-based, but a lot less frivolous or unplanned in nature. So the question is, how do we as the sellers align with that shift? Well, if you're an Etsy seller, we take this concept and we apply it to our shop. So we're in these slower months now, and if we know that buyers are focusing more on necessity-driven or emotionally compelling purchases, then this is the opportunity to make sure we are capitalizing on that marketing angle. So if your products fit at all into something like self-improvement, home organization, business organization, or at least gifting for upcoming occasions like the right around the corner spring graduations, Mother's Day, Father's Day, then this is the time that we kind of lean into those angles instead. Always keep in mind that these slower sales aren't necessarily a reflection of our shops. They're a reflection of consumer patterns. So we just have to become more aware of these patterns so that we can adjust as opposed to reacting after the fact. So if we want to be proactive and talk about strategies that we can do to leverage this slower period in our shops. First thing that comes to mind for me is that you optimize and refresh listings that you maybe haven't checked in on a bit. If you're seeing that you have conversions down, then maybe you need to take a deeper dive into individual listings. Update your photos, fine-tune descriptions, and make sure that your SEO is working for you, not against you. This is a great time to check out those shop analytics and identify any underperforming listings, and maybe test different thumbnails or keywords if you haven't really experimented with those. Even if you have a listing that does really well, it might be a great opportunity to duplicate it and then offer it in kind of an A/B testing factor where you put a different cover photo, maybe a different color, size, style, and change the SEO a little bit, change the title a little bit, or maybe reposition it to a different consumer for a different occasion and see if you can actually improve something that's already been selling well. But don't forget, if you have a listing that is selling, I wouldn't change that original listing. You can always duplicate it and offer different iterations. Another thing you can do is to shift your product positioning. So like I just mentioned, if you wanted to copy and do a similar product but angle it a different way, this is something you can do whether or not your products are selling across the board. You can take something you're selling, like if you have a digital planner, then maybe now this is the time to highlight a spring reset or a second quarter business planning offer. If you sell home decor, then maybe you lean into the spring refresh messaging. A lot of people love that spring cleaning feel, and they want to get out of this cold, rainy, snowy season and put more florals and bring a new life to their home decor interior setup. So small tweaks can reframe your products based on the current demand. Slow periods are also a great time to tap into existing customers and repeat buyers. So when new customers slow down, then focus on retention of your existing customer base. Is there anything you can offer for returning customers as a discount or a bonus? This might be a great opportunity to start or build on an email list if you haven't already, and maybe nurture past buyers to come back and to continue to recognize your brand and your shop. Use this slower period to think about a more strategic way to build loyalty through exclusive deals or some other VIP offering that you can come up with. We can also check out our pricing and see if there's any strategic pricing adjustments that we can make without, of course, devaluing our brand. So we might recognize that consumer spending is lower, and a lot of sellers then have the impulse to create huge discounts, often not recognizing or considering whether that is still generating a profit for them if they're sold at these huge discounts. I highly recommend that you never race to the bottom. Do not try to lower your prices below what you already see on the market. You want to make sure that you keep your brand value, but instead of a blanket discount and going in and saying everything's 75% off, consider other offers that Etsy allows us to bundle together. There's a great feature that has offered 2 or more specific features together, and then you can create a specific discount. So in one of my shops, I have, if you bundle these 3 digital products, then you'll get 50% off, which actually makes it a really great deal for the buyer and still increases my customer cart value. This could also look like adding free shipping at a different value point or across your shop at that $35 threshold Etsy likes to see if you haven't already. Or you can test other limited time offers that incentivize customers to see it and purchase instantly. Now, this podcast is called Etsy and Ecom, and part of that is making sure that we keep our eyes on the overall e-commerce landscape and other opportunities. So, of course, this is a great time to consider ways to expand your visibility beyond just Etsy. So even if you are newer to the market, this is a great time to start exploring multi-channel selling. Could your best sellers perform well on other platforms? Or do you have a social media presence that is asking you about where they can buy your products, and yet you don't have a direct link? So you're still sending them to Etsy and losing that extra margin that you could be making if you convert the sales yourself. Or maybe you're like me and you have an audience on Pinterest and you have not put enough effort into that to actively convert customers or interested browsers. Ultimately, use this downtime to strengthen your business and think about long-term growth. We don't want to think about just sales and how I can get more sales today or tomorrow. What can we do to either batch content, streamline the business, streamline the workflow, or test new strategies? This is a great time to think big picture when your mind is clear, if you're not physically making all of the products you used to be making during the holiday rush, and try to take that big step back to picture what's next for overall growth, not just day to day. The great thing about seasonality is that even when we have a low, like right now, there is going to be a high. It does come in waves. So on the upside, there will be an upcoming surge. So just as quarter one slows down a little bit, quarter two does bring that new spending surge back in. We talked about the spring refresh, but we also have all those graduations for grade school, middle schools, high schools, colleges, master's programs, and beyond. And then you also see the Mother's Day, Father's Day shoppers. There is a lot of wedding season opportunity throughout spring and summer. And you can use this time now to get ahead and know that that is right around the corner, and you won't have to scramble when that demand picks up. Not only can you be thinking about these opportunities, but you can actually start building out a pre-sale strategy if you haven't tried that before. So if you know that you have summer products, you can tease them and start dropping little hints to your audience. You can create wait lists. You can tell your VIP email list that they have a sneak peek or they'll have the first opportunity to buy it, and start driving anticipation and awareness before it even launches. It's also a great time to analyze and improve any of your business operations so far. So if it's slow sales, you can actually sit down and think through those chaotic times when sales were high and what you wished you had done better. There's got to be a way that you can improve your shipping workflow. Maybe there's a new automation tool you've had your eye on, but you haven't had time to research, look into, or learn. Maybe you can optimize or automate customer service responses. So checking for any small tweaks right now can yield big results later. What I want to leave you with today is the reminder that these slow periods might suck, but they don't mean that we're failing right now. They are strategic windows of opportunity, really. The most successful Etsy sellers are not the ones who just ride the highs, but the ones who are strategically using the times like this to their advantage. What I want you to do today as the actionable takeaway item that I always like to throw you at the end of an episode is to pick one thing from today's episode and implement it in your shop this week. So whether it's updating your listings, testing a pricing strategy or bundle, or reaching out and nurturing past buyers, I promise you these small moves will lead to big results. So make them while you can before the day-to-day bustle when that sales rush does come back creeping in. If this episode gave you clarity or a game plan, let me know. I started off the first several episodes throwing my email address to you, but let's be honest, I probably don't check that as much as I should. So let's connect through Instagram. That's going to be the best way to have a live back and forth to connect in real time. If you have any questions about your shop, if you have any feedback for my podcast, send me a DM at Rebecca Boland Strategy. I will drop that in the show notes below, but I would love to touch base with you and talk through anything you are curious about on Etsy. Again, thank you so much for listening. If this helped you, also make sure to share it with a friend and be sure to subscribe for more no-fluff, high-level Etsy and e-commerce strategy. Until next time, goodbye.